Today we're going to be talking about some New Year's goals and how you prepare for the new year. And from my lens, not just as an estate planning attorney, but also my lens as an elder law attorney, a veterans benefit attorney, and a person who's lived some life. I've logged 45 years, almost 46. So for some that's more, some that's less. But from my perspective, this is what's helpful. So who am I? I'm Kevin Snyder. I'm the managing attorney at Snyder Law. We are an estate planning firm. We handle probate, trust administration. We help business owners form and succeed their businesses. And if you are a veteran family, meaning that you have a veteran in your family or a spouse of a veteran in your family, we can assist with connecting you to some benefits that the VA provides and offers, whether that's due to a service-related injury or not. Or so especially those that are 65 years of age or older that served, particularly in the boomer generation. We have most people who served were in the Vietnam War era. So you're entitled to some financial remuneration benefits in addition to the PACT Act that was passed and implemented March of last year. And we'll get into that, some of the bonus material today. So we do a lot of that too. So you can see my resume here. I'm a husband, father, then an attorney in that order, because that's what's important to me in my life. I have my wife, my children, and family, and our clients. And so we really want to maybe impactful, make a difference in that way. And when I have some time in my day, yes, I do sleep sometimes. I like to be involved in the community, and this is what this is about: betterment. That's what today's about, just getting information out there so we can better the community. And I enjoy doing it. And I have a wonderful team. You see, if you come regularly on Fridays, you already know Lara. But Lara, if you're seeing her today, she's part of a wonderful team of like-minded people that want to just educate our community and make it a better place to live. So my why is right here. You all have your whys. Many of them look similar to this, different pictures, different people, but the idea is the same. Family is priority. Family is important, whether it's parents, in-laws, my children, my wife, super important. We like to go on vacations, as you can see here. We might recognize Maui, or that's Universal Studios in Orlando. Disney World, all that's important. And right now I'm in the sandwich generation. So I have aging parents, aging in-laws. I have kids that are getting older. This is a kind of a dated picture here with my three kids. I got a high schooler, an 8th grader, and a 6th grader. I got my Mater Dei pin on today. We have Mater Deis playing Servite. So that's my little shout out to the Monarchs. So some of you in this call or this Zoom might connected with Mater Dei. So go Monarchs. So that's my why, and I want to make sure that my family's taken care of, and if I help take care of my community too, my family will have a better community in which to live, and it's just all the great things come from that. So this is what we're going to learn to help you with your families and make it a better place for them and a better world for you and your community. So right here, we're going to talk about 10 essential steps to refresh your estate plan. We're going to talk about how to start the year strong with financials and peace of mind, security. We're going to look at some practical steps to protect your assets. So asset protection in a practical manner. It doesn't have to be all fancy with fancy complex trusts and businesses and family limited partnerships that you can all find out online and you look up, and we don't have to be fancy about it. There's some practical things and some other insights that I have, lines of sight that I have that I want to share with you on some other things for you to think about as it's January, almost end of January now, as you move forward in your year. So the first thing, we'll start real basic. It's super critical to centralize your documents. So we have documents everywhere, right? So some of you, paper documents, you have them everywhere. Some of it is now in the digital world. We have digital files everywhere. Just think about your phones, right? We have thousands of pictures, hundreds of thousands of pictures at this point saved somewhere, and it's hard to search and hard to find if we have them saved in multiple locations. And that's the same with documents. Sometimes we get PDFs in the mail or in our emails, and we just save them to email. Maybe we save them to a file. Sometimes we get paper mail. We haven't gone green totally with everything, or some of you just people want to just not that they don't want to be green, but they like the paper documents because that's what they know. And they can ensure that they get it because they don't want to get it lost in their inbox. So we have stuff everywhere. And just think about it. If you died today, is the person that is going to be standing in your shoes, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your children or grandchildren or another person, are they going to know where everything is? And the answer is probably not. And that's the most common thing I come across is that someone's died and now we're coming in to help the trustee or the executor, and they don't know where anything is. The kids are coming in and the kids are named as trustees and they're going to mom and dad's house, which oftentimes not the house that they remember and know. It's a different house. Sometimes it is the house they grew up in, but they don't know where anything is where mom and dad kept their important documents. And so they're hunting around the house. This might sound familiar to a number of you, looking in desk drawers and looking in the attic and the basement. Maybe they had a storage locker somewhere, safe deposit box in the bank, and we're just going hunting for things. And that causes a lot of delays. There's a lot of oversight. So we want to make it easy. We want to make it super easy so there's not the delay. We don't have anything overlooked. A common thing that gets overlooked, you pre-plan for your funeral, cremation, and you save the document somewhere that no one can find. They have no idea that you already did that. And then they pay to have you cremated or buried using another company. And now essentially your estate is paid twice for the single burial cremation. Or worse, they had you buried when you wanted to be cremated and you already paid for it, or vice versa. And they're not finding out that until much later when they actually find where you have kept your important legal documents. So we want to have a secure and accessible storage location. I mentioned safe deposit box. Safe deposit boxes are great for certain things. But when it comes to legal documents, it's a little bit dangerous because what if you can't access your safe deposit box? Not you, your trustees. There's very specific rules that banks follow in regards to having access to safe deposit boxes. So if your trustee doesn't have the key to the safe deposit box, and usually the bank's only going to give you like 2 keys. So you have one extra, your trustee doesn't have it, shows up at the bank and saying, hey, I know mom and dad had a safe deposit box, or my spouse had a safe deposit box, whatever it is, and you don't have a key, that's going to be a problem for the bank. Even if you show them, look, I am the executor, I have if the safe deposit box is in the trust, then I'm the trustee. They're going to put you through some paces to just get access and maybe not remove anything. And by the way, safe deposit boxes largely are not in trusts. Why? Because banks don't like them in trusts. So most banks don't allow a trust to hold or open a safe deposit box as people. So it's challenging if you haven't named a good succession of individuals for the safe deposit box. And sometimes the bank has rules of how many levels of succession you can have and so on and so forth. As you can hear, it sounds like the safe deposit box is a big bother. So sometimes it is, but sometimes it's okay. It's all in the planning. So if you have a safe deposit box, you want to make sure that where the key is located to get into the safe deposit box is known by the people who need to know about it, including, hey, we have a safe deposit box. How are they going to do that? You're going to centralize your documents somewhere. Okay, I bank at Chase Bank. There is a safe deposit box at this location of Chase Bank, and you have all that in writing. And here's the account that holds the safe deposit box, and here's the extra key. Anyway, we want to make that accessible, right? So if you have the key inside another, say, locked place, like a locked safe in your home, and no one knows that you have it there, or no one knows how to access that safe, it really kind of defeats the purpose, right? So yes, it's secure, but if no one can find it, big deal, who cares? So we want to have a good balance of security and accessibility. Get a bigger storage, fireproof safe at home. Now, fireproof's in quotations. There are different grades of these fireproof safes. You got to look at the temperature that it can withstand. And sadly, we know very recently in the last few weeks, just what that looks like for some people who lost everything, including legal documents. I had some clients who sadly lost houses and they lost their legal documents. Fortunately, they work with us and we keep digital backups and we can recreate a file from them and it's all good. But other things that were in safes were burned. It wasn't the right safe. It didn't matter. The fire burned that too. So we do want to just be mindful of, if we're going to have a safe, that it is the highest grade of safe, that is going to withstand the highest temperatures that any safe can, and that people know how to get into the safe. They know the code, or if there's a key, whatever the mechanism is to unlock the safe, the right people know how to do it. And it's not that, and my dad's on the Zoom, I just noticed, but so he's going to be chagrined a little bit when he hears that, when my parents would go away, and infrequently when we were younger, but if they stepped away, my mom would say, "Hey, Kevin," so I'm the oldest, "Hey, Kevin, everything you need to know is in the safe, all the important stuff," except she left out the fact of where the safe was located and how we get into the safe. So that would have been problematic. We would have done some hunting and searching and probably found it at some point, but then we couldn't get in the safe and have to hire a locksmith and do all that, and just unnecessary frustration. So my mom has since changed her tune, and actually just came back from visiting them, and I know the plan a little bit better. So, which, as far as where stuff is, which is great, and she has helped educate me on the centralized of documents, because of how to keep things organized. You want to use an asset organizer. This could be a digital, it could be physical. So for people who like the physical touch, the paper, there's a great tool out there called the Knockbox. So thank you, Mom, for bringing this to my attention. I see parents are always educating for the entire life. They're taking care of their kids, even when they're 45 years old, and they're professional. They still are giving great advice. So hopefully I can be like that when my mom and dad's age to my kids. So the Knockbox is Next of Kin, NOK. It's a company that provides the organization. You see, it's like plastic. I almost said Tupperware. Plastic bin that has file folders in it. So if we go back to the other slide, like the files there up on the top right of the slide, that's what they have, those same files slots in this ready to go container. So you see the handle on it. Inside, there's different tabs for different things in your life: birth certificate, marriage certificate. If you served in the military, your military records, important financial documents, all through it. So they have different folders for different things, and it comes as a big kit, and it's super helpful. I've seen this in person. I've seen my parents. So I didn't just go on the website, which is cool. You can go on the website. You can buy the bin with the folders. You can just buy the folders. It's well worth it. So I can't tell you, I was super amazed when I saw it in person. And look, there's a handle on there. So the bin is great, on there. So you can grab and go. Super easy if there's some sort of reason you need to move quickly out of your house. Like if you're in a fire zone, there's an earthquake, there's some natural disaster or some emergency, whatever the emergency is, you're grabbing and going. And you got all the important stuff in there. Now, if you're going to do that with the hard copies, you like that, you might as well scan and get a digital copy. Super easy to do scanning these days. Most people have a scanner at home of some sort. You can use your phone as far as scanning things. Or worst case scenario, you go down to the local printing store, whether Staples, Office Depot, that you can scan stuff there too. And of course, if you're working with an estate planning firm, they'll do that scanning for you. So you're going to have things digitally as well, because we want digital backups so things happen to paper, of course. So we always want to work on what's the backup procedure. And one thing that we do in our office is that all of our clients receive something called an Everplan. Now, Everplan is a separate third-party company that we partner with, because I use it for my stuff. And it's basically a digital knockbox here. It's a protected cloud, bank grade encryption, protected cloud folder that you can do, that you can set up, and then host your legal, financial, and medical records there. So centralized location, and you can assign who's going to have access to that specific account. Where all the information is. So for your life, it could just be you. Upon your death or incapacity, if the company receives the requisite information, then your trustees, which might be your children, could have access. Maybe you need that now because you're older and you want other people to have access that are your power of attorney agents, your trustees now. You can give them access now. So, and you can keep other people out. You can segment the access. So for our clients, we have access to the legal documents. We don't have access to anything else unless they want us to. So you can say, oh, I want my attorneys to be able to upload and download legal documents as they need. But we don't want them to get access to other more protected information like our health or financials. But I would be honest, we have access to a lot of our clients' financials because it goes hand in hand with the planning. The point is that it's a great opportunity to centralize digitally everything. So if you're not home and not near your knockbox and you need to get something, or then you can just access the digital account, or if your trustee is not near your house, same deal. So, and it gets the information going faster after a life event like an incapacity or death, because everything's in a centralized location. We're not wasting time doing any hunting. We're not overlooking or missing anything. So, and once, it's a pain, it's hard. It's a pain in the neck to start and do this. Not gonna lie, all right? Nothing, someone told me, and I know there's a quote out there, but nothing worth it in life is easy, right? This goes across the board. Relationships, your careers, projects like this. If you want to be organized, it's going to take some work. And there's some things that other people just can't do. You want a clean garage, you got to work at it. You might hire somebody to do that. Sure. But here with this protected, this financial information, you can't necessarily hire someone to come in and organize it for you, or you don't want to because it's so private. That's okay. We are here to help with our clients. We help them get organized. We do need buy-in. We can't do everything by ourselves. We do need your buy-in. So you're going to put the hard work in initially, and then it's a lot easier to maintain it, just like a lot of things. So on that note, we want to make sure that we're keeping the people that need to know in the know. So some people in your family are on a need-to-know basis. All right, son, daughter, whomever, you're on a need-to-know basis. Others are meaning their need to know is now. So you got to look at who your important people are in your planning. Who did I leave as who did I give responsibility to be the trustees, to be my healthcare agent, to be my power of attorney? Who are my other special people in my life, my advisors, my financial advisor, my estate attorney, my CPA, my business partner, maybe who's supposed to be in the know, and maybe not of everything, but of some things. Those of you that have minor children, meaning that young children that are under 18, who are the guardians and what succession? Do they know I have a plan? Do they know how to access legal documents during a crisis where they're going to need it? So how are we going to do that? So you want to go back to the starting point of, all right, who are these people in my plan? Who have I nominated to have certain responsibilities and roles in case tragic situations happen, crisis happens, incapacity, death, something happens to my child, I'm not around. So who are these people, and are they informed that I have a plan? Okay, all right, they know, you tell them, but do they know how to access it? Do they know who the attorney in the law firm is? Do they know where you store things and how to get into the safe deposit box, the lockbox at home, and so on and so forth, or where you might store it otherwise? Do they have copies? Having copies might be important of certain documents. So your guardians, you want them to have a copy of the documents that name them and designate them as guardians. So they don't have to say, oh, I was told I was a guardian, but now I got to go find the documents. In a crisis, you might not have that time, or it might be super frustrating or create delays. And delays could create more problems. So we don't want to do that. And of course, we want to inform people and sometimes remind them in the event that there's been a change on their part. Because maybe when you first did your plan, it was, oh, there's a lot of kumbaya. Sure, yes, I'll be a guardian. We'll raise your kids, God forbid, if anything happened to you, we'll raise them. But now it's been a few years, and those people went and had kids of their own, and now it looks a little bit different. Or they moved to different states, or part of the state, or they got a really, really involved job, which now wouldn't be a good idea for them to be guardians because it would stress them out. It's not the right environment for your kids, and so on and so forth. Or you simply a relationship changed. Maybe there's a fight. Gee, that stuff happens, right? Who has family here? Raise your hand, right? There was an argument in the family. So your brother or sister, who you're like, gosh, they're my ride and die. If anything happened to me, they're going to raise my kids. Well, you're not talking to them for whatever reason. Happens. Then maybe you want to make a change. Your best friend's no longer your best friend. for whatever reason, want to make a change, or people have gotten older, they died, and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that things, they're informed of what role that they play and how it works. So that's why in our firm, we give these, and some of you have been to it, successor trustee trainings. So we give trainings every year. We're trying to, I think, get a second one. So we'll do 2 trainings this year. They say, come on in and learn the role and responsibilities of being a trustee, of being a power of attorney agent, healthcare agent. So you know. So these people know, so they can say, geez, I went through that course that Kevin taught, and I think it's going to be too much for me. Well, guess what? You're going to want to know that now so you can plan accordingly. Or they got the knowledge base, they know what they're getting into, and they still affirm, yes, I can do it. That's as good as gold. That leads into communication, right? So communication in life is key. Relationships, marriages, relationships, family, communication is key. And that's the same with your estate plan. Your estate plan, the documents aren't magic. They're not going to make everything all right. Going to make it a smoother path. The road's always going to be bumpy. The road in life is always going to be bumping. Stuff happens. So we want to make it less challenging after the bad things happen in life that are going to happen. We just don't know when. But we know they're going to happen. We hope they don't happen to us, but they are. We're all not making it out of this life alive, right? So what happens when we pass away? Well, we're leaving a sad trail behind us. People are going to be grieving. It's going to be sad. It's going to be hard. And during grief, there's the things that happen. So I hear a lot, well, gosh, money changes people. You always see that after death. It's not, you say it's not about money, but someone dies and then money changes the kids. And, it's not about the money. This is my personal experience as well as my professional experience. It's really not about the money. It is about relationships. People grieve differently, and there are different stages of grief. Anger is one of them, right? So you got people going through anger at different stages than others. On top of that, you have people, the family dynamics just get heightened and exacerbated during that time period. People say things to each other that they might not otherwise have said. Just like in a fight, right? We say things we don't really mean and hurtful, but they stick and they push people's buttons. This is why we have those phrases. And now you have what has been a little flame has burst up into a wildfire, right? And that's what happens. It's not about the money. It's about, oh my gosh, when we were in high school and you stole my girlfriend from me or boyfriend from me, or when we were kids, you're mom's favorite kid. And it goes all the way back. And these are things that are deep seated into our psyches that just come out because of the grief, not the money. Sometimes it's the money, but my experience is more often than not about the money. It's these other things. And what can light that fire even more, throw gasoline on it, if there's not open communication from the parents, the people that have created this estate plan, because now there's a surprise. And I'm surprised. I thought that I was going to be the trustee, but I am not even given a role in this. I'm a beneficiary, sure, but I'm not in charge of anything. Or, oh my gosh, I have to do this with my brother or sister or cousin or whomever who we just don't jive and we don't get along. That's crazy. Why are they getting more than me? I don't care that they have a disability. That is ridiculous. They're just fine. We should be all equal. Why their kids get more than my kids, and so on and so forth. There's not open communication. There's hurt feelings. No one's there to say, well, this is, honey, why we did this. That's for during lifetime. Now, in our firm, we also encourage clients to write a letter, a letter of intent, to explain to everybody, this is why we set it up this way. This is what our rationale was. And that to help lessen the blow. But if you can do that during your lifetime, and I'm not saying you have a big family sit down, I understand some families can't do that for good reason, but you have at least individual conversations, and you might consider putting this letter of intent, because that information is going to quell what otherwise could be a wildfire, because nobody knows. And sometimes there's legal significance to it as well, because a lot of the battles in court on these issues later is, what was mom's intent? What was dad's intent when they set this up? So we're battling about that and bringing in people and witnesses and evidence. I'm testifying or another state attorney's testifying, just so the jury or the judge can determine what the intent was. Well, why don't we just clear that up and talk to everybody in life and put it in a letter, and now we're clear. So some of the things you can do this year is have those conversations, set them up, stick to it, and do a letter of intent for your plan. That'll be helpful. Now, it says here involvement in planning. You can involve your family in planning. Sure, you get input into that, but I'd be careful here about how much you're letting your kids be involved, other family members be involved. First of all, my uncle would say, everyone has rear ends, just like everyone has opinions. Some are nice, some stink. And that's the same here with, it comes to too many chiefs at the powwow, too many cooks in the kitchen, whatever phrase you want to use, you get too much input. You're not going to have this kumbaya necessarily, like, oh, we all get along. Maybe you do, but you don't need it. You can get input and you say, you know what, I got your input. We're going to go do the planning now. And you could I would encourage you to do the planning by yourselves with your estate attorney and not have the involvement of the kids. Now, some people say, well, I want my child there. I'm older and I feel more comfortable. If you have a good attorney, they're going to say that's wonderful. They can be a large part of the process. But at some point, I have to meet with your mom and dad or mom or dad alone. And the reason is we don't want to be any specter of one child influencing you, because the other children are going to say, well, we don't like this plan. And guess what? Tommy brought mom and dad to the lawyer. I wonder why Tommy's the trustee and Tommy's getting a little bit more than everybody else. All right. So, but it's still your intent. Tommy really didn't influence you. Tommy's the one who's had a rough life. Tommy's the one who's got a disability. Tommy's the one that's got 4 kids that are all Down syndrome. Whatever the situation is, that's why we left Tommy more, but you're not around to tell him that. So it's all about perception. So we want to be clear about that. We want to plan for life changes. What do we mean here? So if things have changed in family dynamics, we have marriages, we have divorces, we have births, deaths. We are making those updates. So it's very clear, especially with marriages and deaths. Sometimes births are kind of built into the planning because we're talking about future children or grandchildren. We don't necessarily have to have their name. The fact that they're born now, how they're born, maybe, like I said, maybe they have a disability upon birth. It was a congenital disease, chromosome issue, like with Down syndrome. Then you might have some special needs planning as a result of that birth. It might be, maybe it's the first grandchild, the first child. Now we're changing your plan accordingly. You need guardians. We definitely need a continuing trust for that child. But certainly marriages. What if my son gets married and then gets a divorce down the road? Do I want that my ex-daughter-in-law running away with half the inheritance? No, of course not. So we want to protect our children from their marriages not working out. And it's a coin toss, unfortunately. Statistically, it says it's coin toss these days as far as what marriage lasts. Oh, I love my son and daughter-in-law. These guys are in love. They've been married 20 years. Oh, they have a beautiful love story. You don't know what happens behind closed doors. Absolutely not. And stuff happens, right? In life, you hear the sad stories. Oh, went to the high school reunion, reconnected on Facebook. There was an affair, or they fell out of love, going through midlife crises. There was, bad financial a situation, and there was stress. There was something that happened with the kids. There was stress, and it stressed the marriage. They fell out of love because everything was about the kids, and now the kids are gone and they're empty nesters. We see a lot of gray divorce, they call it, the gray haired, because now they're in their 60s. The kids are out the door and they don't know each other. So the coin toss. So we want to make sure that we're putting protections there so that we don't have situations where our kids are left with less than we intended because of their life circumstances. And so we want to make those updates accordingly. And then we want to update for legal and tax laws we're going to talk about in just a minute. But I want to touch about one change in the law that's important to your retirement planning. So here we are, January. Let's look forward to retirement planning. It's important. It's a great time to do it. Why? Because it's January and we make goals and we're going to conquer the year. Number one. So you are filled with, invigorated with all this energy to do the right thing right now. Number two, you're going to have to get all the financial stuff together anyway for your accountant, because guess what? Tax returns are due April 15th, and maybe even before. We'll go over that. So it's that financial time of the year where we're scrambling. Things are getting mailed to us or emailed to us, important tax information. And we're collecting all that stuff. So we're looking at it, is my point. And if you have a really good financial advisor, bet you're having a meeting with them around this first quarter time. If you have a really good CPA accountant, I bet you're doing some tax planning with them. So you're looking at this stuff, or your advisors are looking at this stuff. So let's talk about retirement. There was an important law that was passed and implemented 2020. Yeah, 5 years ago. Can you believe it? COVID started 5 years ago. Secure Act is what it was called, still called Secure Act. I'm not going to bore you with the acronym. Just remember Secure Act. Now that you might hear in the news, there's Secure Act 2.0. It's just a furtherance of the Secure Act. They made some updates, and then there's regulations. And those regulations finally this past year got solidified by those in charge over in Capitol Hill. They finally solidified stuff and said, this is how we're going to interpret these rules, and here are the regulations, and this is how it's now going to be. So moving forward into this year, we're finally clean slate going in, and now we know how the Secure Act actually is implemented, so we can do some planning around that. So for those of you who don't know, the long and the short of Secure Act is when you pass away and you leave money to your spouse from your 401k, IRA, Roth IRA, 403b, any sort of qualified account like that, what we call just retirement, not pensions. We're not talking about pensions. Okay, we're not talking about any of that. We're not talking about an ESOP. Well, if you have one, you know what that means. You don't have. If you don't know what that means, you don't have one. So forget about it. But we're talking about the common retirement plans. Then you leave it to your spouse. Don't worry about it. Everything works the same with that. What we're worried about is how the new law affects our kids and our grandkids. Or maybe if we leave it to somebody like a niece or nephew or a sibling or a charity. It's important you know these rules. So the rule used to be that I can leave my retirement to my child or grandchild, because now I have $1 million in my IRA, because I've done a great job saving over the years. I built it up. It's $1 million. And that's a pretty common situation when I talk to clients that are baby boomer generation. They were great savers. Why? Because their parents went through the Great Depression, and they learned from them to be savers. And they did that. And now they have these big accounts, and they're not going to spend it all. And so they want to pass it down. And they used to pass it down. And if you know anything about retirement accounts, at a certain age, you're forced to take out amounts of money out of that account. You're forced to take it out. And if you have a Roth, forget this next piece. If you have put into an IRA, it's pre-tax dollars. So you haven't paid tax on that income. You put it into the account. It gets invested and grows, and now you get taxed on anything you take out at your it's ordinary income. So you get taxed at your income tax bracket, which could be a savings over a capital gains tax that you would have paid if it was just a normal investment account and you liquidated some of it, pulled cash out. Right now you get charged at 20%. Plus, that's the feds, and plus California. So it's a higher tax rate. But if the investments are in the IRA, they're coming out, they're going to get taxed at your income tax level, which, if it could be at the 15, 20 after deductions, it's a lower amount than what you would have got taxed in capital gains. That's a win. Plus, it's grown and compounded all these years that you didn't pull it out. But now you're forced to take it out because the government wants this pound of flesh, and it's based on your life expectancy. So some people are pulling out large numbers. Like if you have $1 million account, you're pulling out like 80 to 100 grand. You don't need that income, but you're getting taxed on it. That's another conversation. But you pass away, and who gets that? Well, your spouse, we've talked about. What if your spouse has passed away? Then who do you want to get that? Maybe the kids, maybe the grandkids. But guess what? Hold up. The law said before that they just get it, and then they can keep it for a long time and take out these minimum distributions, which will be much smaller than yours because their life expectancy is longer. So you literally, I used to be able to say to clients, look, you put $1 million, you transfer $1 million account to a grandchild, and they inherit that. At the end of the day, by the time they get through taking minimum distributions out over the years for life expectancy, that's going to be worth future value $3 million in present value time. So it'll grow to $3 million to have that force of $3 million because of the compound growth on it. And it's not going to be taxed at a high tax bracket because they're kids. And so they're getting deductions, maybe no tax or 12%. So, it was a really good tax play and a great strategy to pass along this great wealth, low tax, and great value. Government got wise and said, no, we're not going to do that. You pass any account down like a 401k and IRA, you can only pass it to a beneficiary that's not your spouse down, and they can only keep it in an inherited IRA for 10 years. So you hear a lot about the 10-year rule. That applies to kids, grandkids, not spouses. Doesn't apply to people that have chronic illnesses or disabled. So keep that in mind. Beneficiaries that are under 18 or under 21, rather, I should say, because for this law, the minor is under 21. It doesn't apply to them until they until they turn 22. Then it's 10 years. And so all the money's got to come out in 10 years. Doesn't mean they have to spend it. They just have to move it out of that account. At the end of the 10th year, that account has to have zero balance. If it doesn't have zero balance, big old tax penalty. Of course, so that just means the $1 million that are now passed down to the child is going to get taxed more than it would have been because they have to pull out $1 million over the course of 10 years. So there's some planning we want to do about that. Well, maybe we don't leave it to the kids. Maybe we leave it to the grandkids because they're all really young. And so essentially, if we died today, they wouldn't have to pull anything out until they're 31. And so that's a lot of years. Or we have some children that have chronic illnesses. Maybe we leave our retirement accounts to them and we supplement the inheritance to the others other ways. So we can get creative. It's all about looking at the Secure Act. Also, there are higher contribution limits now under the Secure Act. You can contribute more to do catch-ups. So we won't get into the numbers, but you can talk to your CPA about that. We want to look at some other practical things, pre-planning for your funeral. Yeah, you're like, Kevin, this is fun. Or I'm superstitious. If I plan for it, it'll happen. What I learned, just some basic stuff just in my career as a professional, as a lawyer, yes, but just I think it would happen anyway, certainly in high school and law school, moving forward, is that if you prepare for it, then it actually doesn't happen. This was an experience. I prepared for this trial. Doesn't happen, it settles. I don't prepare for the trial because I think it's going to settle. It actually happens. And then I'm scrambling and not feeling prepared and a lot of sleepless nights. Same thing with anything in life. The more planned for it we are, the better. Sure, would it still happen anyway? Us planning for it doesn't make it happen or not happen. That seems to be Murphy's Law. But the fact is you have that peace of mind that already bad situation, you dying, isn't made worse. It's not as stressful because you plan for it. So you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing it more for the people you love. Because I hear that a lot. What do I care? I'm going to be dead. Who cares if I'm cremated or buried or whatever? Well, you know what? The people that you leave behind care, and you love them and you care about them. If we get down to it, we take the machismo out of it, or the things that we tell ourselves to feel comfortable. At the end of the day, the only reason why you're doing any planning, the reason why you're here on this webinar on a Friday, and it's actually a nice day today, and you're here listening to me, is because you have somebody in your life you care about. And this is a part of it. As much as I want to make sure they're financially secure, well, I want to make sure they're emotionally secure and financially secure in this matter. Because guess what? Funerals are expensive. If you ever had to deal with one, have a family member pass away and then be in the mix in the actual inner dealings of orchestrating and planning and paying for a funeral, that $30,000 is not uncommon, especially if you want to bury those caskets. Whew, they're expensive. Urns, not so much, but there can be expensive ones. And plus, then you avoid the uncomfortable conversations of whether did this person, mom, dad, or whoever, want to be buried? Do they want to be cremated? Then you got factions in the family. No, we should be green. Let's cremate. Oh, we should do the green cremation because the regular cremation, that it puts pollutants in the air and uses coal and electricity. And our religion, you don't desecrate the body. We're going to bury. And you got all these people have opinions again. So let's make it clear. It takes that off the table. I just experienced that this year and I witnessed firsthand that decision getting taken off the table by the person, our family member that passed away. that was really great, because there's a lot of other decisions that are gonna need to be made. Let's take the big ones off. What happens to the body? Then what happens to, including, what happens afterward? You wanna be cremated, well, what happens with the ashes? All right, are they gonna be kept in an urn? Do you want it spread somewhere? What's going on? And that's important. They can say, oh, they can figure it out. But again, an important decision. People have different opinions. No, we should put it in a nice urn. We should intern the ashes in a mausoleum. No, we should spread the ashes. Mom wanted them spread here amongst the redwoods, or dad wanted them scattered out sea, whatever the deal is. I once heard a story about one of my client, that the person, their wishes in their will, so they made it clear that the wishes in the will was they want to be scattered at every ballpark, major league ballpark across the country. And so to the other side of it, we want to be realistic with what we're writing down and actually think it through. And now, is this going to be more of a stress, a burden that we're leaving behind because we want to do something that isn't impossible but difficult? And the person did carry it out. It took them 3 years to do it, and a lot of expensive travel. I want my ashes spread. I don't know if you can still see my screen. I think there we go. I want my ashes spread someplace where you can't do it. You know, it's a municipal code violation, sometimes a misdemeanor to spread ashes in a public place. So you don't want to put your family at jeopardy. I want my ashes spread on the mound at Angel Stadium. Well, that ain't gonna happen. Now your people are going to feel bad. So we do want to be practical. We want to get education on what the different options are. So work with a pre-planning specialist. If you need a referral, I have a couple really, really great people that are really good in this area, and they are gentle through the process, and they're going to get you the information. If you're a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, you have extra things to consider because you have extra benefits. You can be buried in a national veteran cemetery. And you can get honor guard. There can also be some financial assistance, not much, but some financial assistance on burial and cremation. So you want to look at that. Is that the end point? Is that the end point where, if you're a spouse, do you want to be buried next to your husband or wife that is a veteran? Are you eligible to be buried in Arlington National Cemetery? Now, there's a whole application process for that. You can get started from the beginning. You can't get started for the National Cemetery. There's not like an application and it's set. It's just when you pass away, your healthcare agents, your executors are then contacting that particular cemetery to make arrangements. And you get a little stone. You don't get a headstone. You just get a little plaque, basically stone. It's flat. So if you want something bigger than that, then you have to plan for that. So you can talk to a cemetery, you can go to a mortuary, you can talk to a pre-planning specialist that can help connect you with those people to get a better sense of what's happening. And that's super important. That's a great gift, great peace of mind. So as for veterans, veteran benefits planning is important. So if you on this call are a veteran, like my father, who's on this call, I keep saying call, Zoom, on this webinar, or you know somebody that's a veteran, or know somebody who was married to a veteran and now they're widowed, or they're a widower, or they're married now and they have the spouse is a veteran. This is important. So if somebody in that relationship is a veteran, this is something to listen to. And the reason is that there are things that we need to plan for these veterans and their spouses. And that is aging. That is illness. Why? Because they were exposed to toxins when they served in the military. Or they're just gotten older and they, due to aging, there's been some onset of dementia or other illness. And they could use extra assistance for care. And guess what? The VA, despite all the bad press it gets, does provide for good care for veterans. We just have to maneuver and navigate through the morass of the VA. I'm a VA accredited attorney, so I studied for that, and I have to keep my accreditation current, taking CLEs, of course. And I do that because I want to be able to help veterans navigate the system, because there's money there to help them. They just don't know it. They don't know how to get it. And the VA does make it hard to get it. So some of the things to keep in mind: last year, the PACT Act that President Biden had signed into law went into effect March 1st. Now that expanded the presumptive disabilities for veterans that when they were in the military, they served at certain locations and were exposed to certain toxins. Used to be, a lot of people seem to know that, oh, Agent Orange. If you were in Vietnam, during the Vietnam War, you're exposed to Agent Orange. And it was that was the only presumptive disability. If you were exposed to Agent Orange, the VA largely was not going to make you connect the dots and say Agent Orange caused your cancer. They were just going to presume it because it's such a nasty toxic chemical. And now what they've done is they said, yeah, guess what? There is other nasty toxic chemicals other than Agent Orange that these veterans were exposed to when they served, and they all weren't in Vietnam. They were all these other places around the world. You might have heard about the burn pits. The burn pits in Iraq, Afghanistan, other places where they were just burning rubber, burning stuff. It's like why the air quality is so bad up in the Palisades, up in LA, is because there's a lot of toxins in the air. There's asbestos in the air, all that stuff, that chemicals that make up things that we use, tires, rubber, all that. They were getting thrown into a pit, literally a huge pit, and burned. And that was being taken in, inhaled by those that were serving nearby, even if they weren't the people in charge of throwing the stuff and burning the stuff. So those toxins had led to cancers. We hear the stories about the really wonderful first responders or people after 9/11 down at ground zero now getting lymphoma or other cancers because of the exposure to all those toxins. So the PACT Act says, guess what? You're presumptively disabled if you served in these areas or exposed to these toxins, and there's extra ones besides Agent Orange, and you get money. You get money. You're now disabled. You get disability compensation. So there's an avenue. It becomes a lot easier now for people to get disability compensation. Now, there's still challenges to all that, but we help in that department filing the applications. If you are a spouse and you're caring for your veteran spouse, you can possibly qualify for the VA Caregiver Assistance Program. This is new in the last couple of years. Also written in by President Biden. So this says there's financial remuneration. There's money that spouses can receive because they're serving as a caregiver. And there's two different tiers, and it could be as much as $2,750. That's the max, a month. So if you have or know somebody who's a spouse and they're who's married and their spouse is a veteran, and that person is taking care of their husband or wife, helping them, drive them around because they don't drive anymore, or cook their meals, or help them get dressed in the morning, bathe, and doing activities of daily living, they can get $2,750. Now, if it's just one activity of daily living, maybe they don't drive anymore, and the spouse is driving them everywhere, doctor's appointments, the VA, anywhere they want to go because they can't drive anymore. They're not qualified to drive. They can't get a license because they failed the test, or it's not safe, so they voluntarily stop driving at the recommendation of their doctor. Now they can maybe get the lower tier, which is still some good money. That's there, still like almost $2,000 a month. And that's not to the veteran, that is to the spouse. And that comes in with no strings attached, meaning, oh, we're going to monitor how you use that. And are you using it for care? Are you using it to go to the spa? Which, by the way, is not a bad idea. That's care. That's respite care for you, right? Then I encourage that. But now you have money to do that because you were pinching pennies already because you're on fixed income, or the people know they're on fixed income. The veteran can get their benefit and their spouse can get their benefit. And so it doesn't cancel each other out. There's also aid in attendance, but aid in attendance requires some planning. So does disability compensation. Requires some planning. So that PACT Act stuff I talked about requires planning. We got to go get the application together. What if there's a denial on the VA? We got to be prepared for that. What if the disability is not on the list in the PACT Act? Well, we can still pursue it, right? But we got to there's a lot more work. Aid in attendance, there's work there. There's a 3-year look back. So we don't want to be in a spot where I need the money now because I have the disability and I otherwise qualify, but I can't get it because I didn't start the application process or the planning process early enough. Now my spouse has got to wait another year, 2, 3, and the worst case is 5 before the VA is going to start paying the money. And if I just done the work, I would have got the money. So we want to get in front of a VA accredited attorney. Like I said, I'm one, my firm handles this, and say, hey, what do I need to do? I'm not sick now, I'm not disabled now, I don't need the care now, but what do we need to do to get in the right spot so when we do need it, we can flip the switch and it comes in. There aren't any headaches, holdups, or whatever. Biggest thing is, do not sell the house to pay for your care if you are a veteran or a spouse of a veteran before you talk to a VA accredited attorney. You will be able to sell the house. You will be able to use that equity, but there's a way we got to do it. And too many times I am on the phone or in a Zoom or in person, and I have to say, I can't help. I'm sorry. You're going to have to wait 3 years. I don't have 3 years. We're going to go broke. Sorry. If you didn't sell the house before talking to me, we could have got around this. But now you already sold the house and coming to talk to me after. There's nothing I can do to undo what you did in the order in which you did it. It's too late. So it's hard. Those conversations are hard. So just know that there needs to be advanced planning for these sort of things. To that effect, healthcare. Evaluate your healthcare coverage. People that are 65 and older get Medicare. Are you on the right plan? These plans change every year. Now, open enrollment's done. Doesn't mean you can't change. It's kind of like tax season. There seems to be always some open enrollment or some way to get in to make a change. Maybe there's a life event so you can make a change to your plan. So when I talk to CPAs, it's like always it's always tax season. I talk to Medicare specialists and we know a number. It seems like they're always signing people up for new plans because there's exceptions to open enrollment. So don't just say, oh, I'll wait until open enrollment next year. We'll suffer through this year and may pay the extra money. No, talk to a Medicare specialist. You might be in the wrong plan. There might be a better plan for you because you changed doctors, you changed medications. You started in a bad plan to begin with. You just didn't know any better. So if you have not talked to a Medicare specialist when you're signing up for Medicare and you did it yourself, or you just called one of the 1-800 numbers on TV, I bet you there's a better plan. Now, if you're a veteran and you're getting healthcare through the VA, you're on TriNet then or TRICARE. I always get mixed up. You might be good. Your spouse might have an incredible healthcare plan from back when they worked for the county or they were a teacher. Whatever the deal is, there's an incredible plan that might be better for you to stay on than the Medicare. Don't make those decisions in a vacuum. Don't do it alone. Talk to a Medicare specialist. Especially this year, because there was a ton of changes to the Medicare plans and the supplemental plans. Do you have a long-term care policy? And this bleeds into insurance, but I'll talk about it now. Long-term care is important. If you are 60 years old, if you're 70 years old and you don't have a long-term care plan, it's not too late. Again, don't make assumptions, don't make decisions until you get all the information. That's what my mom said, right? Knowledge is power. Get all the information and then make an educated decision. Talk to an insurance specialist. If you don't know one, call me. I know 2 really good ones that will help you figure out whether you can get into a long-term care policy that will help. Make no bones about it. Kevin, a long-term care policy, I see how those work. They don't pay for anything. Well, they'll pay for something, and maybe they got into a bad plan. We're talking about the plans now. We're talking the plans for you. And yes, it's not going to pay for everything. All right, but it's going to pay for something, and something's better than nothing. And it's going to pay for more, and the return on investment is going to be better. And there's lots of great products. Like if you don't use any of the benefit or all of it, then you get a death benefit that goes to your family, just like a regular insurance. So great opportunities. And the earlier you get on that, if you're in your 40s like me, it's time to get on it, man. You can do it in your 30s. It's better because you're healthier. You're going to get a better rating. You're going to get a better plan. And you are going to be able to stretch out the premium payments so it's a little bit more affordable. It's not just a lump sum, here you go. There are premium plans, but those are based on how the term of the plan is, right? So you might not have as long. They're not going to give you a longer term plan to spread the premiums out. I heard about in Washington, they're going to start taking money out of my paycheck to pay for a long-term care plan. I heard California is going to do that too. Well, California might do that. Washington did it, and there was a lot of problems with that. I mean, the idea is great. We're going to supplement. Government's going to be the parent, and we're going to take care of you. You should be doing these things. You're not doing these things, like buying long-term care policies. So we're going to do it for you, just like Social Security. You're not saving for the future, so we're going to do it for you. Well, it's a pittance. What the proposal is for California, mirrored off of Washington. A pittance, like $25,000, $50,000. That's going to pay for nothing. So they're going to take money out of your paycheck. You're going to have false sense of security that you have things in place for long-term care, and you really don't. And who suffers? You and your family. So that's something to take a look at. All right, very passionate about it. So your vacation. So we're getting towards the end of our conversation today, but we're all planning for vacations. I'm planning for Europe right now. And other people are planning to go other places internationally throughout the year. It's important to get travel medical insurance. Medicare is not going to help you if you're out in Italy and you have a heart attack or a stroke, or you fell and broke your ankle. If you're out in Australia, like my niece is, and something freakishly happens to you, guess what? Your healthcare coverage is not going to, your American US-based healthcare coverage is not going to cover it. So the coverage she gets through her employer, not going to cover that stuff. It's all going to come out of pocket. Get travel medical insurance. There's a number of good providers out there. This helped. Personally, I know that this helped family members that needed it in Brazil in 2016, and it worked out really well. It worked out, not that they were in the hospital, but from a payment perspective, they could have been easily out $100,000, and it was just a week. Also, if you pass away in a foreign country or anywhere outside of 75 miles away from your home, it's going to be really expensive to get your body back home to do what it is that you want people to do with your body. So that's called repatriation. So you die away from home. How does your body get back? Guess what? Somebody ships your body. And if it goes over state lines or country line, international lines, lots and lots of paperwork and money. So $2,000 to get you from Vegas, 10 grand from Mexico. We were looking at farther than that, Australia, places in Europe, 15 grand. And then, of course, the headache. And if you've got this family vacation that went horribly wrong because you had a heart attack and died, and these things sadly do happen. I'm not spoiling your vacation. You just don't want it to be even more spoiled than it will already be if something that happens to you or your loved ones. Then you have to deal with, how do I get the body back? How do I get my spouse, my loved one back home? God forbid, your child back home. I don't know what forms to fill out. You're calling the embassy. I don't have that kind of money. Well, I just want to get home and get away from here and have the memorial service and try to pick up the pieces of my life. Well, you can get a travel plan. That's what we have. And I got it from my family, everybody in my family, even my kids. And the links here, it says travel plan enrollment form right here. You'll get these slides, so you can click the link. You can purchase an insurance basically for the rest of your life, that wherever you travel, if you die 75 miles away from home, that's the radius, they will cover the cost and the logistics. There's a card you carry, a number on it. I die in Italy later this year. Carolyn, my wife, can call the 1-800 number, and they're going to pick up on the other end, and they're going to say, we got you. So sorry for your loss. We got you. And they take care of the cost. They take care of the logistics, and it's for life. So please click on that link, and it's not expensive. $450, people. $875 for a couple, $450 for an individual. It's ridiculous. Like the best thing out there right now. We don't want to think about these things happening. But as far as insurance goes, that's money right there. It's money well spent. I am a huge advocate of that. So much so that all of our clients get it. It's part of all of our plans. You don't have to do an option. It's part of all of our packages because it's that important. To the fact of insurance, just real quickly, see that dizzying little concentric circle picture? Insurance is like that. You protect yourself first, and then you move the protection out and those circles outward. So you're on the plane, you put the mask on first to protect you. Disability insurance, how we're going to supplement income if you can no longer work, but you're still alive. And then we expand the scope outward. You die, how we're going to supplement income for your family and support them. All the bills, pay off the house if that's a deal, pay for to move on in life, to afford to be able to grieve without working, still be able to go to the schools of their choice, life insurance. Then, okay, our house got burned up in the fire. How do we rebuild? Are we going to be able to do that, afford to do that? Now we have property and casualty insurance. I got in an accident, got sued, auto insurance, umbrella policy, so on and so forth. We expand the scope out. but are we in the right policies? And unfortunately, there's a number of people right now that are finding out the hard way right now. I didn't have the right policy and I lost my home. I had the wrong carrier, wrong policy. And the insurance carriers are always going to be a headache. They're always going to use the playbook of interference, deny. How can we get out of this? But shoot, had I seen and read the contract, I would have caught this, or I would have given it to my lawyer and they would have caught this. And we offer that for our client care members. Client care members is our ongoing membership program. We have a dedicated annual meeting during the year, amongst other things. And one thing we can do is, of course, review your insurance policies and give you our peace of mind of, hey, this is good. Here are the problems. So we do that for clients and point it out. You're in a bad policy. Let's get you a better one. Here, talk to our preferred providers to get you in a better policy. Because there's nothing worse than hearing it's not covered. Okay, so we got to protect the legacy that way. And life insurance, you're never overinsured. You can be underinsured. We want to review emergency preparedness. Create a go bag. Have all the important things. Have all your documents that you need that are important identification documents scanned and ready to go in plastic, laminated, whatever, to protect it from the elements. It's in a bag. Things you might need: blankets. You might need a transistor radio. You're going to need your phone numbers of everybody on a piece of paper in case your phone dies. You know how to use a regular phone to contact them. What's going to happen if your kids get split up from you? Do they have their own go bags? One little notes on it that says, here's how you can contact. Are you going to give them a walkie-talkie that has range, or a phone, a cheap cell phone, a burner phone in there as well? All these things, and you can think about. Have that ready to go, because you might only have moments. Digitize all the framed pictures you have. So if they burn up, you have them. Things like that, because we're just going to run out. We want to preserve our lives, and we're not going to have time with other things. Have water bottles, have first aid kits, all the things. There's actually companies that sell these bags are already out there, but something to look at. Earthquake kits for us here in California. Have that ready, no joke. We want to be prepared. Maximize tax efficiency. So those of you who are still hanging on here, I'm just going to have a couple things real important. We want to understand the implications of income taxes. So income taxes are going to change in 2026. They're going to go up. So this is the year, if you're going to take a big distribution on something that you're going to be taxed on, you might want to take it this year if it's voluntary. So pull extra money out of that IRA if you can. If you're over 59 and a half, you're not going to get an early withdrawal penalty. Do that. Because if you're already going to do it now, so you get taxed less, because come January 1st, the tax law says that the brackets are going to shift upwards. So we want to get less tax there. And you always hear in the news, the Trump administration is going to change all that. And well, they might not. There was a similar situation in 2009 when the Democrats had control of the Congress and they couldn't pass a bill for the sake of the life of them. And they couldn't do any of the tax reform before the year's end, and the laws didn't get changed in time. That could happen here. There's a lot of other initiatives on the docket for the Trump administration. There's slim majorities in Congress. They might not get all the votes that they need. So it might not happen. So let's plan for it, not have it. Let's plan for the law being the law right now, not for what might happen. If that does happen, all right. Well, guess what? You didn't lose anything. So we want to look at that tax saving strategies. We want to know about the new law the changes in the law now. You can now gift 19 grand to a single person. So if you are a married couple, you double that. Each of you can give 19 grand to a child. So that's 38,000 you can collectively give to a child or grandchild, and multiple people. So that bumped up from 18,000. I already mentioned the higher taxes in 2026 and the sunset of the estate tax exemption. So the thresholds upon which the IRS looks at to say, hey, these people died and their estate is left over and we're going to tax it. If that value of those estates are a certain number, above that number, IRS taxes 40%. Well, in 2026, that number, they're going to tax at 45%, and the thresholds are going to be lower. What is the threshold now? Threshold for individuals, 14 million. I rounded it up, 13.99 million. 14 million. Married couples, 28 million, because you can share your 14. That's going to drop to 7 million. So it's going to drop in half. So it's going to drop to an individual with an estate over 7 million. Their estate's going to get taxed 45% of anything over 7 million. So if they have an $8 million estate, that's $450,000 tax to the kids, grandkids. And that's due 9 months after you die. If your married couple's 14 million, same difference. You have a $15 million estate, not hard, Southern California. Then you are leaving a $450,000 tax for every million above 14 million. So that's huge stakes for some people. So we're telling our clients in the universe, if you are an individual with about 7 million or slightly over $7 million estate now, we need to talk this year to do planning to avoid that future tax for your beneficiaries. If you're married and it's 14 million or around there, close to, like slightly under, even, we need to talk, because when you pass away, there's a strong likelihood your estate's going to be valued at more than that. And guess what? The IRS is going to be able to tax it. So there's things we need to do. If you have an estate today and you're individual and it's over $14 million, or you're married and it's over $28 million, we need to talk definitely today, because there's gifting strategies we need to put into place before January 1st. If we don't, you lose out on that. And it's going to be hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in tax that's going to go to your family that you could have prevented if you did, but you didn't act in 2025. And by the way, you got to act before July 1st. Why am I saying July 1st? Because after we enter the second half of the year, estate planning firms like mine, others, they're going to be inundated. And they're going to say, we're not taking any more clients this year to do this. So you want to act now on that while we still have time, because this isn't, hey, we're going to come in and do this plan in 2 weeks, 4 weeks. These strategies are more complicated and they take more time. So there's things that we need to put together. Trust me, you're going to save your family hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. So it's well worth it. And here are the tax deadlines. Some of you already know, upcoming April 15th for a lot of us. If you're a business owner, March 15th. If you need to get K-1s to beneficiaries because you're a trustee, March 15th. If you are an employer, you have until January 31st to get 1099s out. So there you go. And the last thing we'll talk about, and then we'll get out of here, and I thank you for sticking around, is safeguard your digital presence. We have a digital footprint. It's huge if you think about it. All our online accounts, email, everything's online these days. So safeguard it. Make sure you get an aggregator, like I use LastPass. It saves all of my passwords and accounts easily. So, and it gives me a better password than the one I've used before, so hackers can't get into it, or makes it much more difficult. So it's secure password management tool and a password aggregator. Use one of those. Print out as well all of your online accounts, the login and the passwords. And you can use like a company like LastPass that'll make it easy for you to print it out, because it's already compiling all that and keep it organized. And put that print out, periodically print out a new one, maybe every quarter, if not, definitely every year, and put it in your estate planning binder that you should have if you've done an estate plan, or put it where your important documents are, so that if the person can't get into the password aggregator because they don't know the master password, they're at least getting that. And of course, if the master password you put on there as well. So, and make sure that that's in a secure location. So we want to keep renewing that, because our digital presence grows exponentially each year. And if you're a business owner, we'll do a separate presentation on BOI. Just know that the Supreme Court is saying you have to file the BOI reports. See, the Corporate Transparency Act is not dead, and it can be enforced. There'll be more messaging on that. But get a biz well check. What's a biz well check? We do that here at Snyder Law. We analyze and audit businesses to help find their weak points, and all across the board, formation documents to succession plans to is the structures in place well? Have we thought about all the different things, how this business can fall apart? What happens if I can't come into work tomorrow because I have a head injury that's permanent, or I've died? Then how's the business going to run? How's my family going to extrapolate value out of it? My kid wants to be in the business, but others don't. How do we succeed it? All the things. So we do that. We give you your business an audit, a well check, if you will, like the doctor. And so we can highlight the weak points, so we can then get to work on shoring that up, so that you don't get sued and lose your business. You don't die and your business goes kaput and your family gets nothing. It doesn't implode. Things like that. So get a biz well check, contact our office. We're happy to help. And of course, the joy of giving, we talked about gifts that you can make. but that also could be charity. So talk to your CPA and accountant about how you want to give this year. Look ahead in advance. Let's just wait until November, December, and then give then. Do a structured gifting plan. Maybe you do a donor advised fund. Maybe you have a local charity you want to gift. You have a lot of money in your IRA that you don't need. You can gift straight tax-free out of your IRA. So up to 100,000. So there are things that you can do. All right. That ran a little bit longer than I had hoped. So for those of you who stayed along, thank you. But there's, as you can see, a lot of information that is in here. Happy to answer any questions for those that have questions and have stuck around. And this is when Laura all of a sudden pops up onto my screen and she says, Kevin, oh, there we are. Oh, I'm not hearing you, Laura. You're like a little scratchy. You're a little scratchy on your audio, so I couldn't hear you. But I'm going to try to pull up the Q&A myself. Where's the chat? There's the chat. Maybe you can try just talking again, Laura, because I couldn't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, got you now.
Okay, good. I was saying there was a question in the chat that says, speaking of fires, do we need to add our trust as an additional insured on our home insurance? Whether yes or no, can you please explain why?
Yes, the answer is yes, you do. And we may see some unfortunate scenarios where homes were in trusts, but they weren't added, the trusts weren't added to the policies, and these insurance companies are trying to use that as an out. So you don't want to have that situation. I have seen that happen, unfortunately, not to any of our clients, but to another person's client, where the trust was not an additional insured. So you're just going to contact your insurance provider, Farmers, State Farm, what have you, and then just say, I want to add my trust as an additional insured. They do this all the time. They'll have a form you fill out and you put the name of the trust on there. You just want to confirm that they've done that. And you should see every year on your policies that you get, now you have your name and you have the trust name. So it's not an either or. You, if you're married, your spouse, and the trust, your trust name on the policy. Great question.
It looks like there's another question in the chat here that says, is the gifting threshold of $19,000 per year per person or only done one time per person?
Great, I know it's confusing. So it's per year, per person. So you can gift your child $19,000 this year, $19,000 next year, and so on and so forth. If you're married, you can each gift your child $19,000. So collectively, your child can get up to $38,000 off the books, off the IRS books every year. And if you want to gift more, you can. Will you get taxed? Maybe, but you shouldn't, because if you would say, hey, IRS, I wanted to gift my kid $50,000, and me and my wife wanted to give $50,000. We understand that that's above the threshold of gifting, but we're going to utilize our lifetime gift exemption. And then you fill out a gift tax form saying, please take this off of my tab, of which currently this year is $14 million a piece. And you can gift that $50,000 tax-free. You just have to have your accountant or you fill out and file some forms. So if you don't want to fill out paperwork, or you don't have any more exemption left, you want to preserve your exemption, you can use the management, oh, $38,000 for my kid is enough, or $19,000 is enough. We don't have to fill out any paperwork in that scenario. And it moves. Last year was 18. At one point it was 11. So it's adjusting upward for the cost of living. A very good question. This is how you get in touch with us. Also, we have a YouTube channel where this is going to be hosted at some point. And Laura, are they going to get the slides? I keep saying
Of course.
I hope they get
They will. We will be sending the slides in the recording. It looks like we have another question here. It says, regarding the $19,000, I'm referring to the last question, can those funds be taken from an SD IRA?
Not pre-tax. So if you can take it out of your IRA and gift it, but you're going to pay tax on what you withdraw from your IRA. So if you're trying to make the gift tax free, it's not going to be tax free. Now, if you want to make the gift to a charity, it's different. Forget about the 19,000 out of your IRA. You can gift up to $100,000 from your IRA principal over to the 501c3 charity, and there's no income tax on that 100,000. It's a tax-free gift. But if you're giving it to your kid and it's coming out of your IRA, you're going to pay tax on the minimum distribution that comes out of your IRA, but you're not going to get taxed on the gift because the gift tax is separate than the income tax. So they tax the giver, not the recipient. So you want to make sure that you're giving with exceptions to the tax of giving. So you're either giving to a charity, or you're giving no more than 19,000, or you're using your gift tax exemption and filing the gift tax form.
Lots of good questions today.
Yeah,
It
that's
says, will
good.
the slides also have the links or URLs for the resources/tools talked about? Yes, they will.
Mhm.
Another question, and we have a family trust, and now an aged parent passes away and leaves one of us a legacy trust. I understand it should be kept separate from the family trust.
Yeah, so the parents that have passed away have left a trust that is separate than the trust that you have created with you and your spouse. So when you say family trust, that's what I'm understanding it to be. You have created a revocable trust with your spouse or on your own, to leave your assets to future generations. That is separate from the trust you inherited. If your parents in the scenario have created a legacy trust, they're likely to have left that legacy trust in a fashion where there is a continuing trust in which you are the beneficiary. So different ways to leave inheritances. On a basic level, you can leave it as outright gift, meaning here's the asset, like a piece of real estate, or here's a check, and then you deposit it in your own bank account. That's yours. That's outright. The other way is through a continuing trust. It is now the child's trust that's either managed by the child as the trustee or by somebody else as the trustee. Generally speaking, when I hear legacy trust, it sounds like it's more comprehensive in the sense that parents have set it up so when they pass away, their children's inheritance is left in a trust for the child, and the child might be the trustee if they're an adult and responsible. That is a separate irrevocable trust than the one that you create in your lifetime for your assets. So now you have two trusts.
Any other questions?
Yeah, some great questions today. Thank you all for spending the time this afternoon. I know this is bled over lunchtime for some of you, and you all stuck around. So I appreciate it. As I said at the beginning, this is all about educating you. Love to work with you. It'd be a privilege to work with you. Some of you I already work with. But the fact of the matter is the impetus of this is more for education, to get the information out there. If together we can all have the good information, we can make better decisions. And why not do that now, earlier in the year? Some of these projects take a long time. And so just getting started on them. Also, if you start and take one step, then a lot of times you gain momentum and then you can get bigger projects done. The only way to eat an elephant, as I was told by somebody who liked to go on safaris, I don't know if they really ate elephants, but the phrase is the only way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So these big projects, these elephants in your life, break them up into steps. Do one thing at a time. And when we can help you with that, happy to do so. And clients that know us know that that's how we operate. All right, Miss Laura, you're in charge. So you want to call it?
I think if we don't have any other questions, I think we are all set for today.
Yeah.
But it was a pleasure having you all on this webinar this afternoon. Again, thank you for joining and participating. And as always, we will get you this information shortly after. And if you have any other questions after this, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team, me directly, Kevin directly. We're happy to help.
Well said. All right, have a great weekend, everybody.